You know how people say, when you know, you know? Well, I knew the moment I saw her story on Instagram. The post was up for less than 24 hours, but it was all I needed. A latte, a blurry candle, a man's hand, and his shoes. His damn shoes. They were unmistakable. Brown leather brogues with tiny scuffs near the heel from the time he tripped on the curb walking out of a sushi place last fall. I'd know those shoes anywhere. I bought them. So when I saw them under a table at some cute cafe I'd never been to, paired with a soft focus filter and the caption, "My favorite kind of Sunday," posted by a girl named Mel, my whole body went still. I don't even remember if I blinked. Let me rewind. My name is Celine. I'm 35. I live in Chicago. By day, I'm a clinical research coordinator. By night, I'm the wife of Evan Mathers, financial analyst, homebrew enthusiast, and now, apparently, the co-star in someone else's carefully curated aesthetic. Evan and I had been married for 7 years.
Together for 9. Long enough for me to memorize not just the way he kissed the back of my hand when he was tired, but also the subtle tone shift in his voice when he was lying, which, unfortunately, had started happening more and more. The signs were all there, but I'd been ignoring them. The sudden gym obsession, the cologne that showed up on our credit card bill that I didn't buy him, the fact that he started keeping his phone face down on the counter. Classic. God, I feel like such a cliche even saying it out loud. I didn't confront him that night, or the next. Instead, I did what women like me do when we're backed into a corner. I turned cold. Surgical. I logged into our shared iPad, synced his messages, and watched it all unfold. Her name was Melissa R. She followed him on Instagram after he posted a picture from our lake house, the one I inherited from my grandmother. The same weekend, I had food poisoning and stayed home. They exchanged memes at first. Innocent. But it escalated fast. Soon it was thinking of you texts at 1 a.m., hotel receipts labeled as work off-site, and photos that made my chest ache for how little I knew this version of the man I'd built my life with. She was 28, worked in marketing, lived in Wicker Park, and based on her Spotify playlist, thought Phoebe Bridgers invented heartbreak. I didn't cry, not yet. What I felt wasn't heartbreak, it was strategy kicking in. I took screenshots of everything, transferred them to a USB drive I labeled as recipes, and slipped it into the back of our junk drawer. I needed time, I needed silence, and most of all, I needed control. He was planning to go on a business trip the following weekend. Denver, allegedly. I pretended to believe him, even kissed him goodbye at the airport. What he didn't know was that I'd already called his firm. There was no conference, no offsite, nothing. So I waited, and then I started building the plan. Not to destroy him, no. I wanted something better than that. I wanted him to self-destruct. Monday morning hit different. Not because I didn't sleep. I did, like a baby. Nothing like the calm that washes over you when you know someone's about to step on the landmine you planted with a smile. Evan rolled out of bed groggy, kissed the top of my head, and asked if I wanted anything from the coffee shop. Sweet, right? Like syrup over mold. Surprise me, I said, already halfway dressed. I had plans. At 9:03 a.m., I scheduled an anonymous tip to HR at his firm. Let me pause and say, I didn't go nuclear right away. I'm not reckless. I'm patient. But Evan made a fatal mistake. He used his work email to send Melissa travel itineraries. Genius. He also happened to CC a junior associate once by accident. That same associate? She went to brunch with a mutual friend of mine last month and complained about being stuck cleaning up after Mather's shady calendar swaps. So yeah, the dots were there. I just helped them connect. The tip was short, sweet, and lethal. FYI, Evan Mathers has been falsifying work-related travel to conduct personal affairs. Receipts attached. Might be worth checking if the company's reimbursing his extracurriculars. I attached PDFs of the hotel bookings, 2 guests, and the email he sent Melissa with the subject line, "Let's call it a brainstorm session." Now, maybe nothing happens. Or maybe his company, famously strict about policy and PR, starts sniffing around. Either way, that seed was planted. Next move? Social. I made a burner Instagram called @CityDateFiles. Chic, mysterious. Think diet gossip girl. I posted a blurry crop of Melissa's story with the shoes. No tags, no names, just the caption, "Another married man, another Wicker Park latte date. Y'all need to stop posting his shoes. They're like fingerprints." With a little coffee emoji for flair. The account had 48 followers by noon. Most of them girls I didn't know. Friends of friends, probably. The post got traction. A few fire emojis, some uh-ohs. One DM that said, "Is this Evan?" with a screenshot of his LinkedIn. I said nothing. Silence is so much louder than denial. And while all that was brewing, I did something even more dangerous. I invited Melissa to lunch. Yeah, I know, but hear me out. I used a fake account, professional looking, 0 red flags, and posed as a freelance podcast producer doing a segment on modern dating and moral gray areas. Told her I wanted to feature stories from the other woman's POV. She agreed, enthusiastically. We set a date for Thursday, a trendy sushi spot in River North. She even said she'd wear something cute but casual. I nearly choked. Back home, Evan was reading a book about stoicism. Ironic, considering how little self-control he actually had. He said something like, "We should take a trip soon, just the 2 of us." I smiled. That sounds perfect. You ever watch a snake try to charm a mongoose? That was me, playing along. Calm, unbothered, every move deliberate. Because by Thursday, she'd be sitting across from me thinking I was a stranger. And I'd be looking her dead in the eye, knowing she had no idea what was coming. Melissa walked in like she was auditioning for the lead role in a Hallmark original. Polished, perky, and way too enthusiastic for someone who should be sweating in guilt. Cream blazer, nude heels, gold hoop earrings. She looked expensive in that bought it during a 15% off Instagram ad kind of way. I was already seated when she arrived. She slid into the booth across from me, all smiles and flirty confidence. "Hey, babe," she said like we were old friends. "You're so pretty. I was honestly nervous." I smiled. "Don't be. I just want to hear your story." She ordered a lychee martini. I got sparkling water, mostly because I needed my hands steady. Not that I felt shaky. Not anymore. I was past emotion. I was a scalpel. "So," she said, sipping her drink and leaning in like she was about to dish gossip at a bridal shower. "You want to talk about being the other woman?" God, it's such a weird thing to admit, but yeah, it's happened to me. "Happened?" I asked, watching her carefully. "Well, I mean, it's happening, kind of," she said with a sly grin, tucking her hair behind her ear. "But it's different. He's not happy in his marriage. I'm not a homewrecker or anything." I nodded slowly. Of course not. She went on and on about how he just lights up when they're together, how she feels like she's known him forever, how he said his wife was emotionally distant, cold, controlling. I couldn't help it. I laughed. She paused. "Wait, what?" I leaned forward. "Melissa, do you know who I am?" She blinked. "You're the podcast girl, right?" "No, not even close." I pulled my phone from my bag and turned the screen toward her. It was a photo of her Instagram story, the latte, the shoes, his shoes, my shoes. The color drained from her face like a sink draining after a thunderstorm. She blinked again, slower this time, lips parting just slightly. "I'm Celine Mathers," I said, voice low and crisp. "Evan's wife." She looked like I'd slapped her across the face with a frozen fish. "Oh my God, he told me you two were separated." I tilted my head. "He also told me he was in Denver last weekend. Was that before or after you had your little mimosa brunch at my lake house?" Her mouth opened, then closed. No sound. "Don't worry," I said. "This isn't the part where I make a scene." I reached into my bag and pulled out a small envelope, set it on the table like a waitress dropping off a check. "In there is a copy of everything he sent you. Texts, emails, hotel receipts, Instagram DMs. I printed them in case you forgot." She didn't touch it, just stared like it might explode. "Why are you doing this?" she finally asked. I smiled sweetly. "Because I wanted to see your face before it all comes down." I stood. She flinched. "No need to be scared, sweetheart. I'm not the one who should be worried." I turned to leave, pausing just long enough to drop one more line over my shoulder. "By the way, I'm the one who's emotionally distant. He cries during credit card commercials. Good luck with that." By the time I got home, the envelope I'd handed Melissa was probably still sitting on that table, untouched, like a ticking bomb no one dared open. Evan was in the kitchen playing Gordon Ramsay light, apron on, sleeves rolled up, brow furrowed like caramelizing onions was going to fix our marriage. He kissed my cheek as I passed. I didn't flinch. That would have been too obvious. I just smiled. "How was your day?" he asked, stirring something aggressively. "Productive," I said. "Handled a few things." He didn't ask more. He never did. Evan liked easy answers, and I had mastered the art of delivering them. We ate dinner like a scene from a mid-budget rom-com, fake domestic bliss over risotto. He even opened a bottle of wine, probably out of guilt or an instinct to soothe whatever tension he couldn't name. I drank half a glass and excused myself early, claiming emails. Instead, I went to the guest room, where I'd quietly moved my laptop and notes weeks ago, and waited. It didn't take long. At exactly 9:42 p.m., Evan's phone lit up on the kitchen counter. He was rinsing dishes, but his head turned, and I watched from the hallway as he casually walked over, checked the screen, and froze. You know how dogs tilt their heads when they hear a weird sound? That was Evan. Except the sound was betrayal, and the message was this: "You didn't tell me your wife was the podcast girl. She knows everything. I'm not going down with you. Don't contact me again." Boom. He didn't notice me watching. He stared at the phone like it might deliver a second blow. Then, in a moment of pure panic, he grabbed it and bolted upstairs. He didn't know the iPad in my bag was still synced. I watched the full spiral in real time from the guest room, text firing off in desperation. "Melissa, please, I didn't mean to lie. I'll fix this." She didn't respond. She'd gone dark. And just when I thought it couldn't get better, it did. At 10:07 p.m., another notification popped up, this one from his work email. Subject: follow up on travel audit inquiry. I didn't even need to open it to know the walls were closing in. Still, I forwarded it to myself, along with the entire exchange thread, a little digital insurance policy. I closed the iPad, stood up, and opened the bedroom door just in time to hear Evan pacing and muttering to himself. He called out, "Babe? You still up?" "Yeah," I replied coolly. "Why?" He hesitated. "Just wanted to say goodnight." I walked to the doorway and looked him dead in the eye. "Night." He blinked, nervous, like I'd seen through him, because I had.
He kissed my forehead, and I let him. Because tomorrow was for phase 2, and he still thought we were in the same game. Tuesday morning, Evan didn't kiss me goodbye. He was in a rush, he said. Big meeting, deadlines, conference call with New York. All lies. I watched from the upstairs window as he sat in his car for a full 5 minutes, gripping the steering wheel like it owed him an answer. He was unraveling. Fast. Meanwhile, I had coffee with someone very special. Her name's Dana. She's a contracts attorney at Evan's firm and one of my oldest friends. We met in undergrad, bonded over wine and terrible first dates, and stayed tight through job changes, weddings, and everything in between. She was at our wedding, gave a toast, and now?
Now she was sipping her oat milk latte, smirking like she already knew the ending to this little soap opera. "Let me guess," she said. "Melissa's out, HR sniffing around, and Evan scrambling to find a rug big enough to sweep this all under." "Exactly," I said. "I just need him to step on one more rake." Dana pulled out her phone. "You'll love this. Internal memo went out this morning. Compliance is reviewing all reimbursed travel for Q2. Your boy's name came up twice already." I raised my cup. Cheers to consequences. "Want me to push it along?" she asked. "Nope," I said. "Let him cook." What I needed wasn't just exposure, it was disgrace. Evan had spent years crafting this image. Loyal husband, hardworking analyst, golden retriever in a Patagonia vest. He thought he was careful. He wasn't. That afternoon, I sent a package to his office. Plain envelope, no return address. Inside, printouts, photos, messages. A single sticky note. He took his shoes off in my house, too. Just enough for whispers to start. Just enough for his pristine mask to crack. By 4 p.m., Dana texted, "You're officially the talk of the 18th floor. He's in a closed door with legal and HR." I smiled, closed my laptop, and poured a glass of wine. Because Evan thought cheating on me was a mistake he could manage. But I don't manage. I eradicate. He stood in the kitchen, holding the envelope in both hands like it was ticking. "You sent this?" he asked, voice hollow. I didn't look up from my glass of wine. I send a lot of things. "Celine, what the hell are you trying to do?" I finally turned to him. "Me? I'm just watching the truth come home. You're the one who took it on tour." He swallowed hard. The man looked like he'd aged 5 years and 2 days. Not because I'd yelled. I hadn't. That's the thing about cold revenge. It doesn't need volume. Just precision. "They brought me into HR today," he said. "Said there were questions about my Q2 reports. Travel inconsistencies. One of the assistants forwarded them a packet that looked like a tabloid." I shrugged. "Weird how paper trails work." He ran a hand through his hair. "You don't understand, Celine. This could cost me everything." "Then you probably shouldn't have risked everything for someone who posts latte art and breakup songs on Instagram." He opened his mouth, closed it, then quietly, "So this is about punishment." I stood, walked toward him slowly. "No, this is about reality. You lied. You cheated. You underestimated me. You thought I'd scream, throw things, cry in the shower." I leaned closer, dropped my voice to a whisper. "You forgot who the hell you married." Then I walked right past him. Upstairs, I could hear him pacing, opening drawers, closing them, probably looking for something. His dignity, maybe, or an escape route. I spent the night in the guest room again, not because I had to, because I chose to. And Evan? He slept on the couch. Not that I told him to. He just finally understood he wasn't welcome in the life he shattered. Wednesday morning, Evan left the house looking like a man walking into a courtroom. Jaw clenched, tie slightly crooked, eyes hollow. I watched him from the window, again, sipping my coffee like it was a front row seat to karma.
Because by 8:12 a.m., my burner Instagram post had officially blown up. The photo? A cropped shot of Evan and Melissa walking into a boutique hotel. His hand on her back, her smile, his shoes. The caption? If he says he's in Denver, check the boutique hotel in Lincoln Park. The shoes don't lie. I didn't tag anyone. Didn't need to. The comments did all the work. OMG, I know those shoes. That's Evan from Morgan and Wade. He's married. Wait, didn't his wife post a wedding anniversary last month? By noon, Dana texted me a screenshot of the group chat from his office.
The girls in marketing were dissecting it like it was a cold case. One of them, bless her, even overlaid the shoe pic with a company retreat photo. Exact match. At 3:45 p.m., Evan called me from work. I didn't answer. At 4:02 p.m., he sent a text. Please call me. We need to talk before this gets worse. At 4:18 p.m., a new email landed. Subject: urgent. Final notice from HR. I smiled. He walked in the door 2 hours later, looking like he'd been hit by a train made of rumors and Slack threads. I'm suspended pending investigation, he said. They're auditing my travel expenses and reviewing the Instagram post. He dropped his bag on the floor like it weighed 100 pounds. You win, okay? Just tell me what you want. I turned to him slowly, calm as ever. I want you to live in the mess you made, without me cleaning it up, without her to run to, and without the job you thought made you untouchable. He sat down, face buried in his hands.
I never meant for it to get this far, he whispered. No, I said coldly. You just meant to get away with it. By Thursday morning, Evan was officially a ghost at work. His access revoked, his calendar cleared. And me? I had one last piece to play. A public anniversary post. A tribute to our beautiful 7 years together. And buried inside it, the quiet reveal of exactly who he really was. Thursday marked our 7th wedding anniversary. In a different timeline, there would have been roses, a reservation, a card with his barely legible handwriting that said something about forever. Instead, there was Instagram. I posted at 9 a.m. sharp, peak scroll time. A carousel of our wedding photos, the lake, the lace, the moment he kissed my forehead and swore, under oath and God, to choose me every day. The caption read, 7 years ago, I married the man of my dreams. And like most dreams, I eventually woke up. What I didn't know then? He'd say business trip and mean weekend affair. He'd gaslight me into believing his distance was my fault. He'd take another woman to the lake house my grandmother left me. What I do know now? I deserve better. Secrets always surface. And if you're reading this and recognize the shoes from Wicker Park, yeah, I know too. The comments exploded. Oh my God, Celine, I had no idea. Wait, this is about him, isn't it? Respectfully, you served this with a side of cold-blooded elegance. By noon, the post had over 11,000 likes. I gained 3,000 new followers. Someone even messaged me asking if I'd guest on their relationship podcast. At 2:13 p.m., Evan texted, "What the fuck is this?" At 2:16 p.m., I replied, "Documentation." He didn't respond. Later that night, I heard him pacing again, upstairs, alone. He didn't try to talk to me. He knew better. Or maybe he finally realized there was nothing left to salvage. Because when a woman who's been wronged finds her voice, she doesn't whisper. She publishes. The next day, Evan found the envelope I left by the front door. Inside, printed divorce papers. No yelling, no fight, just a pen and a note that read, "Happy anniversary. I'm keeping the house. You can keep the shoes." He found the envelope at 7:42 a.m. I know because I heard the pause in his footsteps by the door, the quiet shuffle of paper being pulled out, the long, hollow silence that followed. I didn't even look up. I was seated at the kitchen table, scrolling through emails, sipping black coffee, dressed like I had somewhere better to be. Because I did. A meeting with my divorce attorney at 10. He walked in holding the papers like they were radioactive. "You're serious?" he asked. Completely. He opened his mouth like he wanted to monologue, maybe beg, maybe explain. But then he saw the pen. I'd left it next to the envelope. Silver, weighted.
The same one we used to sign our mortgage papers, back when we were still building a life instead of quietly dismantling one. "I don't know what to say," he mumbled. I finally looked at him. "You don't have to say anything, just sign." "You're really keeping the house?" "You brought her into it," I said, sharp as glass. "I'm not leaving a single place where you made me feel small." He stared down at the papers. "I didn't mean for it to go this way." "I know," I said. "You never do. You just act, and hope no one looks too close." For a moment, it looked like he might cry, but I didn't flinch. Tears were too late. Regret doesn't erase betrayal. He sat down and signed the papers without another word. 3 signatures. No flourish, no pause. Then he pushed the folder back across the table. It felt anticlimactic. But that's how truth lands sometimes. Quiet, clean, final. By 10 a.m., I handed the documents to my attorney, who smiled and said, "Well played." And just like that, I was free. But I wasn't done. At noon, I posted one final message to the @CityDateFiles Instagram account. "Final update." He signed. If you're reading this and you've ever been cheated on, gaslit, or made to feel crazy for trusting your gut, this account was for you. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's just the truth, with excellent timing. P.S. He kept the shoes. I kept everything else. It's been 6 months. Evan's gone. The house is mine. The silence is no longer heavy. It's peaceful. But you want to know the best part? Melissa reached out. Not to apologize. Oh no. She needed advice. 6 months later, the world moved on. Evan didn't, but I did. The house is mine. I repainted the kitchen, got rid of the couch he insisted was ergonomic, replaced his espresso machine with a vintage kettle. Now, my mornings are quiet, intentional, and entirely mine. No more pacing in the hallway. No more wondering who he's texting. No more living beside a stranger in a mask that looked like my husband. Freedom didn't come with fireworks. It came with peace. Until Melissa messaged me. Yep, her. She found my real account, slid into my DMs like nothing had happened. The opener? "Hey Celine, I know this is weird, but can I ask you something?" My first instinct was to ignore her, but curiosity? It's a powerful thing. And I wanted to see what she looked like now, 6 months after burning down her own narrative. I replied, "Sure, what's on your mind?" She launched into a 3-paragraph confessional, said she's been in therapy, that she didn't realize Evan was that manipulative, that he told her he and I hadn't slept in the same bed in over a year, false, that he made her feel like she was his salvation, like I was the cold wife who didn't understand him, like she was the answer to a problem he invented. Classic. Then she said this. "You handled everything with so much grace. Honestly, how did you stay so calm?" I sat with that for a long moment. Then I replied, "I wasn't calm. I was focused. The difference? Calm forgives. Focus remembers." And I remembered every lie, every look, every moment he made me feel crazy for trusting my gut. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just let him burn. And then I made sure everyone saw the ashes. She left me on red. Fitting.
These days, I don't talk about Evan unless someone brings him up, which happens less and less. People remember the drama, not the man. And that's exactly how I like it. He moved out of state, last I heard, lost his job, tried to freelance. His LinkedIn says independent consultant, which we all know means unemployed. Me? I started consulting part-time, helping women, quietly, with exit plans, financial prep, asset protection, social strategy if needed. You'd be surprised how many need it. I don't call it revenge.
I call it education. Because if I had to burn through betrayal to find my fire, I'll hand that match to someone else now. Let her light the fuse.